Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Stay on stage. On-chain revolution. Guns. Phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the On-Chain Hour, and today's show is going to be amazing, guys, because we have Bitcoin sitting just below 89,000. Bitcoin does feel like the long-term holders are actually done selling. The whales that have been selling the last couple of months feel like they're done, and I actually have a data point to show you that actually shows that. So it felt like it, and then it's actually true. We got Ethereum sitting just below 3,000. I want to see Ethereum reclaim 3,000 today and potentially be the last day ever it is below $3,000. We need to see that clicking closer to 4,000, and I want to see that now. I feel like the energy is getting back a little bit. I feel like a lot of people are saying, you know, today's the 30th, tomorrow's, the 31st, and then boom, we are done with 2025. Thank goodness. 2025 sucked. I got something else to kind of show, like the most searched words of the year. One of them is Sydney Sweeney, and the other one is inflation. So that's a good thing, though, for Bitcoin. And people are out there searching inflation just as much as they search up Sydney Sweeney. So that's really good. We got BNB sitting on 861. This is, to me, it's like the kind of the back view of what's happening in China, right? So if we can kind of get BNB to kind of get moving, we know the Chinese. If you guys don't know, China is a huge part of crypto. It's probably one of the bigger parts of crypto. We need to see the Chinese community actually start getting back, the Singaporean community start getting back. Honestly, dude, it's the entire Asia. Asia is probably more involved in crypto than many people really think. A lot more than the West is, anyway. We got Sui up 3.8%. This is Raul Paul's favorite coin, so that's kind of cool to see. Bitcoin dominance up a little bit. We don't want to see that. The stock market all red today, so that's kind of why I'm a little excited about Bitcoin up 2%, while the Dow Jones, the S&P, and the Nasdaq are all down. You do have gold up a little bit, sitting at 436. This all-time high now is about 4.6. So seeing gold kind of cool off is a really good thing too. But I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for 2026. I feel like it's going to start slow, though. I'm not expecting a huge Q1, but I do think Q2 could be tremendous. It really could be. So definitely excited for Q2, Q3. How can we be bearish when we're about to head into a macro environment that could really send things to Valhalla? It really could. I mean, we're about to potentially get quantitative easing. Rates down to potentially 2. Right now, they're like 3 points, like 375. Right, so getting another point and a half potentially of rate cuts. I mean, what does that do for 2026? I mean, that's a rate cutting year. That is the definition of risk on. That's the definition of what we do in crypto. So I think it's time for us to get a little bit more excited than normal. I think it's time for us to really start looking at opportunities. This is going to be the word of next year. Finding the opportunities to make you guys money. That is my job here at OnChain Revolution, and I'm ready to get today's show up. Let's get started. Let me bring my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? I'm excited, bro. I'm hyper. I'm ready. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, Bitcoin does look pretty strong. It did, right? But I just can't count on it, right? I feel like I'm ready for 2026. I've gone into shizzy mode mentally of getting rid of this year and going into the next year. I mean, yeah, it felt kind of good to be like 89, 90,000 to start this morning, but we're already below 89,000 again, right? So it's just kind of ready for the sideways action to stop and go into a more bullish environment. But I know that doesn't typically just happen right like overnight. There needs to be a build up to that, and so I'm excited to go into the new year. But I'm excited for Webdro. I see Webdro there. What's up, Webdro? He got his frog and all that stuff. So people in our community that have gone through the tough year of 2025, I think they're ready to jump on get into the ride of the new year as well as us.
100%. We sent him his frog yesterday. Congratulations to you. It's not official yet, but you can't lose at this point. So officially tomorrow will be the winner of that competition we're running all year. If you don't know what that is, it's the first is first. We're probably not going to do it next year just because of YouTube.
We'll figure something else out.
Yeah, YouTube has been really messed up lately with the comments. They get deleted every day now. So it's hard for me to know when, because I log in at 8 o'clock, right? So how am I supposed to know, if someone got deleted? It's just, we got to figure out something else. We're going to have a new competition for 2026. But we're just letting you guys know we really appreciate everyone who participated in that. But like officially is tomorrow. We're going to have a huge thing. We'll kind of go over everything as well. But yeah, we got my man Lackey Lukey in the building. Myself says bot switch to buy mode, about time shoot. And then Webdro, the legendary Webdro. But let's jump into our first topic today. Markets pulling back hard. Is this 2026 storm about to hit everything? So what are the chances of a bear market? I guess this is our title today is about. What is the chances of a bear market? What are the chances Bitcoin actually gets down to 69,420? That is the number we cannot pass. We cannot go below 69,420. That is the all-time high from 2021. I feel like, that right there is the line in the sand of basically ruining 2026.
Yeah. And, whenever the numbers change significantly, like they did this, for Bitcoin, at least for this cycle, if you look back at last cycle, whenever things really crashed down, people were looking at that $20,000 mark because that was the previous cycle's all-time high in that range in 2017, 2018, early 2018. And so now you have to kind of adjust your mind to, okay, the previous cycle in 2021, it was 69,420, right? So we're not that far from it. It would be almost kind of like us being in that $35,000 to $40,000 mark in 2022 before like really heading down further, right? Now, the difference is that 2021, there was a lot of euphoria, a lot of like celebrations actually heading into the beginning of 2022. If you remember, there was still lots of opportunity in the first 3 months of that year. You had to find it. You had to go into new chains and stuff, but there was still billion-dollar market caps that were just spawning. Not just spawning, they were like projects, dexes, and stuff like that. Now, what we experienced this past year, we didn't experience that 2021, euphoria and stuff. So I think if we do go into this official bear market, and if you want to say that's where we are right now, whatever, there's people that are on both sides of the fence. I think more on the side that says we're not. But let's say we are. I think we experienced a lot of the despair and depression part this year already. So that's where I think it could be shortened. Plus, couple that with a liquidity environment that's friendly to our space. That could be a really short bear market if that's where we, officially are right now.
Would you call October, November, December a bear market? Because it definitely feels like it to me.
I mean, I would call it like emotionally a bear market.
I mean, that's what a bear market is,
like,
right?
Yeah, for our space, we definitely experienced a bearish market this year.
Yeah,
it was definitely not the typical bull market that you get, and there's going to be people that argue against that and say there was a meme tokens went to this, that, and the other. Well, a lot of it happened at the end of towards the end of 2024, the very beginning of 2025, but it was almost like just a pure extractive type of event with the meme coins, right? Fartcoin, I was the only one that was a community kind of built up situation outside of all those crazy politician coins that launched in the beginning of the year, the country coin. I mean, you had like the what prime minister of a certain country in Africa, like launching their coin, and all these crazy things that people like that were natives didn't have an opportunity to get in, by just researching. It was insider completely, right? And so that's the main difference. 2025 definitely was not the, two in, I guess, a half bull run cycles that I experienced. Is very much different.
It's kind of like this, let's pretend the 4-year cycle doesn't exist, right? Like, let's just pretend like it's just something that we never talk about, we never looked at. If you throw it out the window, I mean, I would tell you that 2024 was a bull market, right? I mean, in all aspects, from the ordinal sector, the Solana sector, even late 2024, the AI really blew up, right, in October, November, December. So I would tell you straight up, like, hey, 2024 was a bull market year. I mean, there was a lot of opportunity. 2025, there was no opportunity for anything besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hyperliquid, Solana, not even Solana, and XRP. I mean, everything else was down only.
Yeah, but you have to understand that a lot of people are driven. Well, the OGs of our space are driven off of that 4-year cycle, and some don't play it as hard. And I think those people are really talented. The ones that kind of were in previous cycles, and they just more are about taking profit at the right times, right? So like the people that made out really big from the ordinals boom in 2023, they did that. They had that skill set. But a lot of people were thinking about, okay, this is a unique one-off sector of our space that is taking off because of innovation. A lot of people that were there, they were talking about like the Bitcoin ecosystem innovating and actually having DeFi on Bitcoin, and all these things I feel like that situation was bad for people that experienced DeFi in 2021, because in their mind, the painted picture was you're going to have what happened in Ethereum in 2021 and the EVM chains happen on Bitcoin's blockchain now. And there's going to be this huge ecosystem that developed. Now, there was an on-chain economy that was really robust and strong and exciting and all these things. But, there was a little bit of a, I guess, evidence of how young this industry is, and some of the people that might have just got really deep into crypto that last cycle because people wanted dexes like us. I mean, I'll admit it. I was like, why can't there just be like a dex on Bitcoin? And then once you understand the foundation of how the chain works, you get it. You know what I mean? But there was definitely money being made in 2023. You're right, but it was one-off sector. I felt like that was all due to the innovation part of ordinals. And then 2024, money to be made in Solana with Pump Fund launching and then leading into the AI sector. But if you played the 4-year cycle, that messed you up.
Yeah, back to my point though, like I think the 4-year cycle is, we can't count on it anymore. We shouldn't have even counted on it last time because like I don't think we're ever going to get to the point of everything euphoria. I think we're going to have to play the sectors. Like if you played ordinals, right, in early 2024, you made money. If you played Solana in the mid of 2024, you made money. If you played AI in the back end of 2024, you made money, right? And I think like if you've played Bitcoin in the summer of 2025, you played Ethereum in the summer of 2025, you made money, right? I think it's time for us to start understanding that we are entering kind of like the stock market. Like stock market could have a bull run, right? But some of the retail brick and mortar stocks, they don't run. It's just in tech, right? So but then you see
a rotation
tech
into
the next thing, but then tech goes sideways for a while, right? So I think we have to start thinking like that, in the sense of a bull run can be ordinals, Solana, AI. Like that could be a bull run year.
Yeah, and like I think that's a lot of what you said is probably how things are going to eventually play out, because like the brick and mortar stores, they actually have like a good run up every year whenever it gets close to holidays, right? Yep. So it's like the Nordstrom's, those type of stocks, they'll run up. And then you have your tech stocks whenever, like the newer tech stocks will boom whenever there's liquidity in the environment and stuff like that. So I do think we are transitioning into this new thing, but I don't really, blame the 4-year cycle guys too much, because that's what we have known. Now, you do have to be flexible and adapt and think forward, and say eventually it's not going to be that easy to where you're like, okay, I know how this test works. It works with patience, and that's easy. That's all I got to do. And that seems like that's what broke this time.
100%. Inflation remained a dominant search trend throughout the 2025, maintaining consistency, high public interest across a year alongside of other major topics. So this is something I found truly interesting, and this is kind of why
you are trying to share your screen.
Not yet.
Okay.
So this is kind of why potentially this is why gold ran. This is why silver ran. This is why potentially Bitcoin's going to run next, is because a lot of people now are getting ready, or they have been searching. And look at this right here, right? So let's just say, like, the fires in California, it had an upward sideways, right? And you got Gaza. Gaza's been like a search word that like popped up, went down, and then you come down here, Labubu was probably one of the most. Who the hell knew what a Labubu was? But this gets interesting down here. You see this one. This is inflation, and this is Sydney Sweeney, right? So inflation has been pretty much the entire year. The word inflation has been. It's the only really word of the top 100 words. Sydney Sweeney as well, but inflation has been one of the top. You do have your clusters, demon hunters around Halloween area, right, and stuff like that. But the most searched word,
the K-pop demon hunters. Yeah,
is that what it is? K-pop demon hunters? I don't know what the hell that is. But anyway, inflation has been one of those words that has been searched the entire year. So people are aware of what is happening right now.
Well, it explains the macro environment, right? And if the macro environment is tight to where people still are looking for opportunity, they're just looking for it in a safer environment, then they're not going to look in crypto. That's just kind of what's been in their mind recently, right? It's not necessarily what happened in 2025, even though that doesn't help at all. But you go back to 2021, and sure, whenever this new administration came in and won at the end of 2024, people were getting excited about it. But as soon as what happened in January and February happened, they just were like, this is way too dangerous still. It probably brought up PTSD from FTX days, right? So then they just kind of reach for the safety type assets. That's going to be gold. That's going to be precious metals. And I know S&P's kind of from an overall asset perspective, I've heard it at least being classified as risk on, but I feel like it's still, it's a safe play in the sense if you think the economy is doing okay here, because it's an index fund, right, of the top 500 companies, right? So you can play that, and then you can also play the top stocks as well. And if you do get risky, then you're just going to take margin. And there's plenty of platforms that will give you that, right? Like Robinhood, E-Trade, all these platforms will give you margin to trade on. And I think that was the risk on to the furthest extent. Now, our space, totally different. Like our space will be risk on, but they're risk on by nature, right? The memes, all that stuff. But leverage, they're probably doing leverage for the blue chip assets. And then whenever 1010 happened, even the people that felt like they were being safer, they're like, oh my God, like I just got wiped out being smart.
Yeah, 100%, 2x. You have, no one was expecting Bitcoin to drop to 70,000, right? Wiping everybody out. And then kind of bouncing back was that one wick candle. But I do have some good news to report here. 2 back-to-back things here. So Ethereum validator entry queue has surged, nearly doubled the exit queue. So this is a really good sign, something that we've seen in June and July before Ethereum really pumped. So you can see here, the red is the entry. So you're seeing that kind of just dump off. I mean, there's probably like 350,000 in queue, but you're seeing right now, as of December 27th, right? That's like a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, you've seen this giant amount of Ethereum coming online. Is that Tom Lee? Is that some of these bigger players in the space? But 750,000 Ethereum are sitting there waiting to start being staked on inside. And we do know there's a queue to get in, a queue to get out, which means like you can't just like you got to wait. It's like sometimes it's like a 2 week wait to kind of get your Ethereum up, which is very common. A lot of these other places as well, like Polkadot and all these places that you do the proof of stake. There's always a queue to get in and get out as well. It's like 2 weeks, so very similar here. But this again, this is something that we seen in early June, late July, in that whole that time period, and then we saw a huge eruption in August where Ethereum hit all-time high.
Yeah, I think Ethereum is an asset that's attractive to the institutions, because they missed out on Bitcoin, or, from an institution like legally accumulating perspective, right? And yeah, I think that's probably a lot of why Jamie Dimon hates on Bitcoin, and all these, institutional CEOs and leaders hate on Bitcoin, is because for them to acquire large amounts, it's not as attractive as, the upside that they see with Ethereum, right? And then you hear about JP Morgan coming out saying that they're going to utilize the Ethereum blockchain, and all these things. That all works together to push up the brand of ETH and to give the public perception that Ethereum is that opportunity, and it's right after Bitcoin. Don't forget that it's the number 2. And Bitcoin, if Bitcoin is 100,000, then Ethereum has so much further to go, because the supply is not too much higher. I think you're looking at like 70 million or something right now. But yeah, so I think that this is going to be a big play by like the institutions and some of the big whales eventually. And of course, you got Tom Lee. Of course, he's been shilling it a lot more than what he shilled with Bitcoin before and stuff like that, even though he did talk about Bitcoin a lot. But it's because he's in a different position now. But I think he's the type of guy you want there.
I mean, he shilled Bitcoin pretty hard.
He did, but
he would always come out and say,
different right now.
I think we're very, very close to an explosion. It's kind of one of the words I heard him say a few times, and then he switched. Now it's all about ETH. He only talks about ETH. I never hear him say anything about Bitcoin anymore. But I don't think his shareholders want him to talk about Bitcoin right now. So
probably not. That's what I mean. Is like it's a a totally different position that he's in now than before. I think before he was just kind of like this really smart kind of quant looking. I mean, like they look to him for like information and stuff like that on the shows. Now he's a promoter in the sense of ETH and the potential future of Ethereum.
Yeah, 100%. My guy, moving along though a little bit. So Fred Krueger, he said OGs have stopped selling Bitcoin and are now net buyers. So this was a problem that many people weren't talking about, was the amount of whales selling above 100K. I mean, we've seen it multiple times where, all of a sudden there are people reporting, hey, 10,000 Bitcoin has just moved to Kraken, or 10,000 Bitcoin has just moved to, Coinbase Prime or Galaxy Digital, right? Like it was nonstop for like months of people waking up and selling their Bitcoin, and that has finally stopped. So I do have a graphic to show here as well. Here it is. So this is kind of it right here, right? So you're seeing the amount of, this was like sells, right? So it has finally loosened up. So this was the buying opportunity. This is January 9th, January 23rd, July 7th, right? So it's been just long term. It's just selling, just all selling. They were all buying here.
When did the selling start?
July, first week of July, between July 7th and July 21st.
Wow. I mean, I felt like that was a pretty good timed area, because we hit an all-time high in October, but you were close to those that price targets or those price ranges in June, July, right? So I think we got to like 123 or something like that in July, right? So it's almost kind of weird that they were like, okay, at this point we're selling, OGs were like, we're selling this down, and then it leads into October, right? It's almost kind of like they didn't care that there was that rise up too in October, because where's October at? I mean, you can look at October, and leading up to October, I mean, like it was still around the same ranges of September before the big crash. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like they were getting hyped up the fact that it was creeping back to 120. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting chart to look at right here. It's almost kind of like these OGs kind of knew that Bitcoin needed to be pulled back, and the rest of the year. I mean, look, Bitcoin has had the best probably, this entire 2025 in terms of price and stuff like that, ending in 2024, going into 2025. But even so, if you look at this, I mean, majority of the year has just been down.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, it started
Or selling at least. Sell
Yeah,
pressure.
technically, the Trump pump was something, is definitely buy the rumor, sell the news, right? 100%. I mean, look at this. Buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, they sold all year here when the time came. And I do think this is kind of like what Jeff said about he thought that a lot of bigger players in the game had holes in their balance sheet and they had to sell down Bitcoin and Ethereum to fill those holes. You got to fill those holes with cash, right? Because they lost a lot of cash, whether it was from taking leverage or whatever it was on this day. But and again, if you guys listen to what we had Jeff on for Merlin Monday, he basically said like the week after this happened, like the following Monday, he said like, hey, we need to be ready for sell pressure here. And I didn't take it seriously. I was just like, yeah, I mean, we've been selling off the last couple months. We have. But then it got really serious here, and it does look like the bleeding is over though.
Yeah, you know what's weird to me though, because I do think that Jeff is right that there were some big institutional players or like
Yeah.
medium-sized institutional players that do a lot of volume on in our space that had holes. But the weird thing is there wasn't any outrage from these institutions saying that like they felt like manipulation was happening and all these things. You know what I mean? The only kind of outrage, if you want to count it as outrage, were content creators kind of coming out like Rand said, like, what actually happened? Oh, I figured it out, So to me, just from an outside perspective, I feel like there's this kind of understanding like this had to happen. Because if I was an institution that got blindsided and I have to fill gaps now, I'm pissed. You know what I mean? I'm pissed because that's going into my bottom line, and maybe like you could have killed my business or whatever, right? So because there's no outrage, no like, hey, this person should be held accountable, or like this, like it's almost kind of like, hey, this is like an understanding this needed to happen, and don't worry, things are going to get better type situation. And I hope that's the case, but it's just weird to me because we're not hearing any names of any institutions that have had holes. And you can say, well, that takes a couple months. Well, okay, beginning of October to November to December. So we got 2 months in. So how much longer before we find out, where the leaks are?
Well, let me ask you this. If there was a mafia shooting on your block where a guy came in and, just blew up a house or something, right? The neighbors aren't going to be going to the cops if they know for a fact that it's mafia because they don't want the mafia to come after them. I see it kind of like that with Binance. You don't poke the mafia. You don't poke the mafia, right? Because you don't want anything to fall in your lap. So it's kind of like that. If you see something to happen, I mean, maybe this is like just a Philly thing, but if you see like a mob shooting, you walk the other way. You don't call the police, right? Because then you're a target. You're putting your target on your back. I see the very similar thing happening here. I see, everyone knows who to point the finger at, but do you want to point your finger at a mob boss who could break that finger?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that analogy, right? But I still, I feel like there would be some people like outraged and couldn't hold their emotions in at some point or something. But maybe it didn't get to the point to where, they got crushed that bad. And maybe there was some situations that happened behind the curtains to fix situations.
I think
and kind of
Binance did
work together and make sure that this doesn't like become a bigger issue than it's already has been, right?
I mean, if the mafia affects you, go to the Don and say, hey, like this affected me. Like I don't want to go. You know what I mean? Like and they usually
you want
make
this to be like
what?
an Italian mafia
Binance
movie.
is a mafia. Binance is like Yakuza. Binance is
so wait,
that.
should we worry that they're gonna be coming after our show? I'm just kidding.
I mean, probably. Let's move along. Top 5 creator coins on Zora are the creator of base. So Nick Shirley really kind of opened the door here, and I want to kind of show the top 5 creator coins because it was kind of shocking to me, right? So Jesse Pollock, you got real Gary Tan, Nick Shirley, Ballas, he's like a big Bitcoin maxi guy, and then Jacob, who is the CEO or the creator of Zora, right? So you see, these are the creator coins here, and Nick Shirley just pop it in the top 3. But what do you think about this? What do you think about creator coins? Are they sustainable? And can we see these kind of grow? Can some of these actually hit tens of millions of dollars?
Well, people are upset about the Nick Shirley coin because there was some whales that poured into it. And, whales have, for the most part, stepped away from the pump fund and Solana meme coin sector because it didn't make sense to them anymore. They were getting burnt, for them to drop 10K on a coin to get it, buy into like an momentum, like they were getting cut off by the knees at that point because everybody was just taking profit. So they backed out of that. So they're trying to look for like a sustainable sector in our space right now, which is really hard to find. Right now, if they collab together and they try to push one coin, it works. We saw that with Zcash. And so I think when they saw this Nick Shirley situation, they said, okay, this is it. This is the one. And whales started pouring into it. I saw some guy say he, round trip 250K, or there's a lot of people upset about it. Thread guy said he was upset, but it's because even those people that have size, they're mentally still skewed, like it's messed up because something like this, Nick Shirley, which seems like to me, he has a pretty innocent type of personality of going, doing investigative journalism and that stuff. And hey, Zora, this is a new content creator meta. Yeah, I'll join. Why not? Right. So I don't think people are necessarily mad at him. They're mad at Zora and Base. They're mad because Base didn't pump their bags, and I think Base is trying not to do that because Base wants it to be an organic situation, right? But I think we have to change our perspective here and not try to get instant gratification. I mean, the coin literally launched 2 days ago, right?
Yep.
It launched 2 days ago.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Instant gratification is what all these influencers, they're all seeking, right? They want to throw 10,000 in there and make 10,000 in a day when no one looks at anything anymore like an investment. I'm waiting for Nick Shirley to kind of pull back, and I would love to just throw, hundreds of dollars. This dude could be a senator one day, right? Imagine what that does for like his potential coin. He could do a movie one day. Like he could,
or
this
producer,
kid is 23 years old,
like
producer.
That,
I would like, this is kind of goes back to my like Post Malone theory, right? Like getting in before his first hit song that made airwaves. It's kind of like that. You're able to get in. This dude might have his his own channel one day. Like he might be able to make enough money to buy NBC or something. Like this guy could be something so big. He's 23 years old and his future is so big. Stop looking at these coins as just trying to make instant money. Get in and get it. Stop trading and start investing. That's what these coins are for.
Yeah, the mindset's really hard for them to transition to that. I mean, I get it. It's because the crypto space has been hurt. It's like when you're hurting so much and like you feel like, oh, I finally like found something, and it disappoints you, right? But hear me out with this kind of comparison. So someone was talking about how content capital markets will never work, all these things, and I was just kind of thinking about like how the collectibles asset market was eventually like pushed into society in the 50s. It didn't start in the 50s. It started before that. So like people have Michael Jordan rookie cards that are worth millions of dollars. People have, baseball players from the, early 1900s worth millions of dollars, right? Mickey Mantle, et cetera, et cetera. But that wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was, you have to kind of get that narrative going. And people are going to be like, that's worthless. I'm sure when those cards first came out, they were probably like, oh, that's just, that's a toy or whatever. It's not going to be worth anything. And then they realized 10 years later, 20 years later, it's worth money. I think that's where this content capital market, creator capital markets is going. People don't like it because they're not seeing instant returns. You don't see that. You didn't see that with the collectibles market either. But now it's thriving. And I think that's what's going to have to happen here. There's going to have to be this adoption of mindset that's like pushed to the point to where they're like, hey, look, these aren't going to go to $1 bajillion in a week, even if they're like really hot right now. but maybe in a couple years they will, as that meta continues. Because I think, and this is not just a plug for Pyro, but I think Pyro actually has a really good kind of model of how this could work, right? So retail can definitely get into creator capital markets, but I do think like from the partnership of advertiser side is what kind of sustains it. And so if you're a retail investor and you get in early before the big advertisers start to buy up the coin and do something like that, or burn, you have to have a good mechanism, then that's where that investment really pays off. You know what I mean? Because this is just the beginning of these type of approaches. And so we're just at the very forefront, right? So first, society has to kind of accept it as the norm. And just like sports cards and things like that, that's going to take some time. But once that clicks and they're just like, okay, well, it's here, then I think that really partners with like this, you know, advertising sponsorship plus the retail investors that got in early and stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think yeah, 100%. Do you think we ever get back to an investing society in crypto? Because that's what the stock market is. Stock market is, they're investors. They buy, you know, Coca-Cola at $13 and they hold it wherever, $300, right? They're still holding it today. They have no interest in selling it, right? Do you think we ever get to a point where investing, because even me and you, we think like that. Like we think about, okay, I want to get in Node Monkeys now and sell at 10K. That's not an investor mindset. That's a trader's mindset. Do you think we ever get to an area where it's like, I want to hold this for the next 10 years?
Yes, I do think we do, right? Because Bitcoin is like that right now.
Yes.
Ethereum is like that right now. So there is that part of our industry. It's just not hyper focused right now on, right?
Yeah.
The people that are focusing on it in, you know, is, which makes complete sense, are the institutions and some of these, you know, OGs or whales. The people that are focused on the fast instant gratification are the new generation, the Zoomers and stuff like that. But soon they're going to realize who controls the price strings, right? Or who controls the money. And that's how it is with the stock market as well. I mean, the stock market's like that. You do have you've always had younger, you know, energetic people in the stock market as well that love to go into trading and stuff like that. But the people that really had, you know, size to move and you know, have that influence were the older, you know, hedge funds and these type of companies. And that's going to happen in our space too. I truly believe that. And then you're going to have basically those sectors kind of, you know, separate here, because, you know, Zoomer energy and all that stuff is, I think it's good for attention, and attention economy matters. But I think like I mentioned, the big money that moves stuff, that's going to be the people that are in these longer term, you know, coins and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. Let's move over here. GameFi funding. Well, you know, to your point here, speaking of big money, right? GameFi funding fell 55% year over year. Look at this chart, man. It's actually pretty crazy. So this is funding into crypto gaming projects, Web3 gaming projects. It is at, you know, going back to Q1 of 2023, everyone was really bullish on it. It's dead. I think people are finally realizing what I knew a long time ago. Web3 gaming will not come from a crypto company. It's going to come from a gaming company adopting NFTs, right? And I think, you know, funding some of these projects now, I mean, we're seeing, I mean, it's almost ridiculous. I mean, $50 million is nothing for investors to invest, and that's all together. It's all the investors in gaming. It's done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it's going to be a experienced studio that adopts Web3, but it might even have,
baby.
but I think it might even come from a little bit of pressure from, you know, these investing fund management companies that are like coming into our space, and it has to make sense. You know, I mean, if it doesn't make sense, you know, for the gaming industry, the successful companies, they're kind of like, we don't need to change anything. We're making billions of dollars. You know what I mean? So for them, they're probably just annoyed by like the constant, hey, you know, when are you guys going to integrate Web3 and all these things? But, you know, the people that have the power to do that are, you know, those Silicon Valley investment firms and these type of companies that have a lot of stake in these gaming companies, right? But they're only going to do that if it is going to be a net positive that they see, and they do a lot of research, of course, right? So it has to be big enough to be a net positive for them to want to push those companies to do it. And then at that point, I think they've trusted those type of companies for long enough to where we'll see something like that. But it's not going to happen on our time. We're, I mean, like, we've been waiting for GameFi to be a huge thing in our space, and it just hasn't, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. It's not. I think Rockstar has a big opportunity here. I think Rockstar, and one of the rumors that is they're going to have an NFT marketplace. Think how much money they could make from the NFT marketplace, right? Alone, and that's what it's going to come down to. Can I make more money from peer-to-peer trading than I can from offering skins, right? And in Grand Theft Auto, potentially a jacket that you wear around could be an NFT, a pair of pants, a pair of shoes, having like a branded Ice Cube hat, right? That Ice Cube can so now you can wear it in the game. I think there's huge opportunity for Rockstar to make billions of dollars, not just from licensing. Hey, Ice Cube, you want to, just pay us a fee? You can launch an NFT on our product, a centralized marketplace that they control, making money. And I think that's when you see Fortnite being like, okay, let's people mint their NFTs, mint their skins as NFTs, and let's create a marketplace there, because we can't miss out on that money. I mean, Rockstar's making $1 billion a day in marketplace fees.
I mean, so the number one concern that they have is making sure that the user experience isn't interrupted, right? Because they have
interrupted, though.
I'm just saying,
it's just a separate entity that you can buy and sell NFTs.
Yeah, I'm not saying where it is today necessarily, but probably the way, and then also all the legal stuff from before held them back and all that stuff, right? So now that all that stuff's out of the, now that all that stuff is out of the window, well, almost out of the window, right? Like, to where they don't have to worry about that as much. I do expect more commerce to become relevant in our space. Because let's be honest, when it comes to commerce, it's piss poor. Let's just be honest. I think you can look at one of the best examples is probably something like Courtyard. They've done good in the good side. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, commerce wise, so where you're buying something and exchanging it for crypto if you want, right? And then the other areas is more of like asset type of financial, fintech stuff. So it's our space of trading and stuff like that, right? So I don't really count that. I'm talking about like actual tangible goods and stuff like that. And maybe that just never hits. I don't know, but we just don't have anything that's great to where everybody's like, okay, and maybe it is just like an adoption thing for like Amazon to say, okay, look, we're taking this stable coin now, or we're taking that, because that has been in headlines, right, in the past. Because this is a change of financial infrastructure rather than, businesses necessarily, just starting like an eBay that's only focused on that, right? It makes actually more sense for eBay to pivot and then offer this type of payment structure as well, or something like that. So,
yeah, it really comes down to who's going to use it, right? Like, how many people are going to use. So I think that's the problem why Amazon hasn't had stablecoins yet. Is like, I mean, we think crypto is so much bigger than it really is, but the people actually using stablecoins on a day-to-day is probably like 4% of crypto, right? Most people just have stablecoins to kind of get, most of them are sitting on exchanges. Most of them are sitting on exchanges, honestly, right? And if you're holding stablecoins, why not just hold dollars? Because it's safer. At least your bank's not going to get hacked one day. You're not going to wake up to your hardware wallet getting, or something like that. You know what I mean? And then it's that worry of going in and your address poisoning and stuff like that. Like, I don't think regular people are ready to just hold stablecoins, but I think that comes. But that's why you're not seeing with Amazon yet, because if they do all this technology changes and offer this and no one uses it, then they just kind of wasted money and time.
Yeah, if the entire industry is going to be onboarding it, I think they're going to do it. Amazon's the type of company that invests in being ready. I know somebody that is a pretty much like project manager for construction and stuff. And Amazon, and maybe they had, they did have information because I'm sure, I don't know, but they basically built all of their warehouses right when COVID started, and right before the still was like gone. You know what I mean? And so they will put like millions and millions of dollars into these warehouses and or things that they feel like they need to get knocked out. So I expect Amazon to be, ready whenever everything does go. But you're right. Like from a medium sized company, they're probably like, why, jump the gun on it and have to spend so much money, and we'll just do it when everybody else does.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that too. It's like there's companies like Stripe who want you to have stablecoins in your credit card or your debit card, right? So there's already companies creating this, so Amazon doesn't even have to. You're just going to put your card numbers in like you normally would, and you're going to spend stablecoins. I think that's where Amazon wants to get. They don't want to do the process of you sending them stablecoin and have to, like offboard it and custody it. Like there's a big process in that. They want you to swiping. They get numbers on a screen and they're happy. They don't want to deal with any of the shit underneath. And I think we got to make it easier in crypto and come up with better stuff.
Yeah, we do. And I think it needs to find its like really strong place in society too, because there's no ACH, there's no companies that are doing automatic, salary payments and all these things with crypto right now. And like, where's its place going to be?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We'll see. I've got a couple comments here real quick. We got the great myself says, okay, I read that one already. He also says, props to him, corruption. He's talking about Nick Shirley. He said, I'd like to see him go to the Pentagon and ask why have they never passed an audit. I mean, that would be great. My boy Stan is here. Shout out to Stan. He said, hopefully Nick will hit Fort Knox.
Dang.
We're looking at Nick as like Elon now. It's crazy. If holdings become the norm, are memes dead? No, I think you can hold memes. I mean, not like you're not gonna buy something today named like something stupid, or
Well,
I don't know.
So I think Pump Fund changed our industry forever because now there's an official like casino corner. I mean, it was always there's a lot of high risk to our space always, but now there's always this casino that's always open. It's never going to be closed. But I do think that the overall mainstream attraction doesn't go there. I mean, that's going to be for the degens that just, want to gamble on memes. Then you'll have like the separate class of memes that are established and people will hold those like Doge and, Shiba. And then there'll be some communities that form and stuff. We need more of that pure, like almost innocent. People are in this space to make money. Let's just be honest. But there is a difference whenever you're like, you are a part of something actually versus, you don't know what I look like. I just have this Anon username and I'm just making tons of money because, I'm deploying tokens every single day or whatever, right? That I think is going to be kind of siphoned off to its own. And then we'll have like the communities kind of be more, I guess, influential again. And then the HODL, of course, that's going to be different.
Well, we have to get rid of that. The days of Crypto Lucian. I love Crypto Lucian, my guy, right? But him, interviewing the CEO of Kraken, and he has a PFP on, right? Like, and then you have Leonidas and Crypto Lucian interviewing Dan Moorhead with a PFP. They both have PFPs on, and it's just looks ridiculous. Like, I love those guys, right? I think they're amazing, but that has to stop. Then don't do the interviews if you can't. If you're gonna rock up, could you imagine that the CEO of Kraken sitting down with you and you're sitting there with a PFP on? Like, that's humiliating for the crypto. That's terrible for the runes. That gotta stop. It has to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it is a part of the culture, and I think that's why it's accepted still, right?
It has to go away. It's not. I mean, you don't gotta come out and say I'm John Smith, but at least be like, I'm Shizzy. This is my face, right? Like, what's the? I don't get it. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you my full name, but like, I think the alias is fine. And then with your face, like
I think where it gets mixed up is okay. The initial purpose for that, the initial purpose for Bitcoin and the Anon Satoshi Nakamoto was to kind of have privacy and protection or whatever. But I think that that's such a slippery slope that the industry just never really addresses it. The slippery slope is you could just scam anybody and just ride off in the sunset, right? But because it's never addressed, it's accepted. And I mean, you have a CEO of $1 billion company going on an interview with people that are Anon. I don't
think they knew that they were going to be Anon. Like they probably knew that like he was probably shocked sitting there talking to a PFP.
I don't know. I mean, it's so like intertwined with the culture that I do think
no
that
one
people
does
are,
that. It's
huh?
very rare now. No one does that. It's very rare.
I mean, it's obvious that it's been a big part of the history. You know what I mean?
But no one does it
Of crypto.
anymore. Like you say history,
There's
but
a
no who
lot. I mean, crypto
I
Twitter does it the most by far, 1000%.
but that's the spaces. Then
Yeah,
why do
but I
video?
mean, like James
Why do video?
Nguyen, what does he look like? You got the I don't know what the white whale guy looks like. I don't know what UniPC. These
But
are all
they're
people
not
that
they're
have
not
more than
hold on, but they're not
130,000 followers.
interviewing the top guys in our space. It's not embarrassing. Like
But
you know what I mean? That's the problem. Like I'm not saying like if you want to be Anon, that's fine, but don't interview freaking the CEO Kraken and Dan Moorhead and making us look stupid.
well, Kraken, I think, does a partnership with Cryptolution though, or some sort of like
No.
there's something going on. I
No.
mean, you know, they definitely interact a lot. I'll say that they interact a lot. They give them a lot of time, you know, and all that stuff.
It's embarrassing. It's
Well,
embarrassing.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you on.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that like it's a part of the culture. It's a part of the culture. People that actually stay anon, I feel like they have more ability to be free and just be like, you know, not necessarily who they
Pump and
are,
dump.
but be who they're not. Actually, you can be more of an actor if you're anon, in my opinion, right? Because now, like, you're not worried, and they get rewarded, bro. Look at the follower counts. I mean, look at James Wynn's follower account. Look at, like I said, the White Well guy. Look at, you know, this guy named Dip Wheeler. Like, they all have 130,000, 180,000, 200,000 followers, and it's kind of like what is this the fundamentals of this space about? Is it about, you know, rewarding people that have a mask on and, you know, digitally, and like no one will ever know what they look like, but they get rewarded with attention because they can say whatever they want because because they have a mask on? Or is the space about like trying to reward people that put themselves out there and try to speak the truth and try to do the right thing, but, you know, it's almost the opposite. It's almost backwards.
Well, no, I just think that this was acceptable 4 years ago. I think now that days
But
of
why?
clarity and stuff, because we have a crypto friendly president, we have clarity now. There's no reason to really hide your
Why
face
was it
hold on.
acceptable 4 years ago?
Because crypto was looked at very similar to how Satoshi was looked at. You can do things. You can get arrested in the space very easy. You can have the Pelosi's come after you. You can have the Warrens come after you. Like it was, like president will Gary Gensler is going to be knocking on your door and stuff. That's yesterday. That was before. We don't have that anymore. We have the Clarity Act.
There was tons of people that showed their face.
We have
back then.
We have the Clarity Act. We have the Genius Act. Yeah, but those people they knew that they were doing nothing wrong. That's the problem. Is a lot of people that stay blocked, they know in the back of their mind there's a reason they want to stay this way, and it's because James Wynn, he likes to do a lot of pump and dumps. I mean, we've bought a couple of his pump and dumps already, right? And he has no, he's going to get, it's eventually going to stop. But right now, and that reason, all these guys up because they're able to show alpha. Hey guys, I bought this coin, and everyone's like, oh well, I got to follow this guy because I got to hit the next one, right? And that's fine. Just we just need to have clarity on just to make sure that you're not just going to dump your tokens on me.
Yeah. You had people like Eric Voorhees that has shown his face for a very long time, and I know he got caught up in some stuff. He obviously didn't do any time for it, but some of the people associated did, right? But but there's been people that have shown their face this entire time, and I guess they've risked it. They risked the entire time, but
they all have corporate companies though. Every single one who showed their face, from all the ETH founders to everyone who's been public, has created companies from their thing. And then those companies, I mean, Jesse Powell, just with Kraken alone, right? He created Kraken because he was front facing. Guys like James Wynn and stuff like that, they can't create these businesses. They can't actually go and structure business stuff because they're ANA. Right? It's just unless they come out. And I think it's time we get away from the PFPs and people start creating media companies, and these alpha groups and stuff actually come and be the next version of, like what TradFi does with their stuff, Yeah,
we'll see if the space evolves there, but I mean, I think it does. I think it does. I mean, because if you're new and you get deeper into research and then you're like watching videos and you're like, why is this dude like,
Yeah.
he's like, what is he hiding?
Like, I want to invest in Dog, but what is Leonidas hiding? Why won't he show his face? I want, and this other guy, the second leader of Dog, why is he doing interviews with, Dan Moorhead and the CEO of Kraken, and he's hiding his face? Like,
But
what is
more,
up
but
with that?
then you ask the question even deeper and you say, why are the CEOs okay with that?
I don't think they know before they sit down.
Dude,
I
like,
honestly don't know if they know before they sit down.
Okay, honestly, I gotta say this. Like,
Dan Moorhead definitely didn't know. Dan Moorhead did not know.
Okay, but the
was gonna be
Kraken
able to
CEO
PHP.
definitely did know.
He did.
He
I agree with that.
1000% knew because he knew what Vincent's. What do you mean? Like his team does
Do you think
zero research?
Do you think he personally watched it?
I think that a
don't think
CEO of $1 billion company has a team that does research, and like he's about to go live on a show, and his team's gonna tell him, "Oh, just to give you a heads up, this guy doesn't show his face or whatever." He
probably
think,
learned that day. It was already too late.
No, because that CEO has interacted
that
with.
looks for him.
I'm just saying though, the
bad it
CEO
looks for
has
the CEO of
interacted
Kraken.
multiple times with Vincent's tweets. I've seen them. They comment on each other's tweets, so he knew the entire time. So that is kind of my point. We wrap it up here because I feel like we've been talking about for a bit too long. But is that like CEOs of big billion-dollar companies know this, and they are 1000% okay with it. Not every one of them, maybe, but a good amount.
It looks bad. Like, it looked bad for CEO Kraken. Like, I really like if I was somebody from TradFi.
But it doesn't matter because they are worth billions of dollars.
Because they're about to go public. All this matters right now. If you're,
do you think it's going to hurt their race? I don't think it's going to hurt their race.
I
don't
think
think it's going to hurt their race.
I honestly think it does. It's like, why are these guys associating with these anonymous? I mean, you got to think of TradFi's mindset. You really do. They don't like the anonymous shit. They don't like it. And if you're gonna, I think his people fucked up by putting him in an interview with somebody that doesn't show their face, with an anonymous anon, when you're trying to get a huge raise. I mean, raising billions of dollars.
No, I don't think it affects the raise, but I think I'm agreeing with you that it needs to change, right? Yes. So, but it's kind of like this. If you're a kid that like is doing something wrong and your parent is like ignoring it, right? And they're just like, well, that's not a big deal. You know what I mean? If they're constantly doing that over and over, the kid's just going to do it continuously. And I feel like that's what our space has been. And I feel like that's exactly what will happen to Kraken. I think because like it's they're big enough marketing brand to where they're going to raise good money. But I think that, it needs to change as a culture. But if those people aren't like saying that there's something wrong with it, then the other like the space ain't going to change until the highest, most valuable companies in the space aren't saying something's wrong with it. You know what I mean? That's probably a big part of why the public is just kind of like, I'm good over here. I don't need to go. I think
a lot of people do say it. I think it's coming from the JP Morgans of the world and stuff like that. You're going to see it less and less because those guys are now.
And this is not an attack, by the way, on Leonidas and Vincent. We love those guys. We've had them on our show multiple times. We know people that have met Leonidas personally, so that's why I trust Leonidas. Because we know people that have met him and are friends with him. But it's more of a cultural thing.
It's time to take the mask off. That's just my whole point here. Blazing Bandit says, "What's up, guys? Is Santa about to clear customs? We'll see." As myself says, especially with gaming, best games are old physical games, the early 2000s. Yes, seriously. We got a new listener here. He says, "I think a general theme from us in crypto has to decentralize everything at all costs, but not everything works well decentralized. Some layers." See, I disagree. I don't think we need to centralize everything. I think we need to centralize whose hands in the cookie jar, and we need to pretty much make that not happen. We need decentralized aspects of businesses, so where we can trust that they're non-custodian, but everything else I think is okay with being.
Well, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, some layers need decentralized. Perform 100%. Like I think I was just agreeing with him. Is Justin Sun the future face of crypto of a trend? I think Jeff Yin is the future face of crypto. I
think he's like he's in that rookie class that I feel like is going to graduate. Dude.
Shout out to myself. He said it's weird to see someone wasn't it, dude? Like I keep seeing it pop up on my timeline now. And I guess I didn't think anything of it before, but now I'm looking at it and I'm just like, come on, Vincent. It's time, bro. Something is brewing with Dog. It does feel like something is being orchestrated in the background. I'm telling you, the reason why Dog is manipulated downside is because of these anonymous figures that are the number one, right? Unless like
No.
I feel like
Oh.
Wendy O and Dan are really awesome, and having them is kind of what keeps Dog, above 100 million. But I think it's time for Leonidas to take off the mask, man.
So I don't think that's why Dog struggled. I
I think
think
it's one of the many reasons, but yeah.
very, if at all, that's so tiny. Like I think it's a big problem in our space, but I don't think it's the reason why Dog is going through that. Dog has had a lot of success, actually, comparative to the other runes. I mean, no one knows who launched Ordi. At least Domo had a mask on whenever, but he was there in person. He always wears that like
I saw his face at the arch thing.
okay, there you go. So with Ordi and stuff like that, I mean, it's been so ingrained into our culture, but it is something that, in my opinion, needs to change. But Dog, I think there's two things happening. The one that, like, some people are saying it's going down. I think it's going to have that opportunity to fly back up. Once Kraken and the runes. Like, we need liquidity. That's at the end of the day. That's what we need liquidity. If we don't get liquidity, it's not going to go back up.
So racism was ingrained in society in the 50s and 60s, but it had to go away. You know what I mean? Like there's been things throughout history that's been ingrained in society, but it needed to go away, and it for good reason. I think this is one of them. No comparison, but I'm just saying in that sector of time, like just because something was okay, I'm not saying it was okay, but just because something that was
accepted
was accepted by society is okay, it eventually needed to go away for society to kind of move past that. So. All right, let's kind of get into today's crypto price action. I'm actually curious where everything is. So just more sideways, are you saying? What are you saying, bro?
Yeah, pretty much more sideways, man. That's what we got. But before we get into the price action, guys, as always, I'm gonna ask you guys to help us out, and on the YouTube side, smash that like for us. It does help us. So even though it might be so hard to click that like button or subscribe, just do it for us. And turn your notifications on as well, as when we go live. On the X side, let's share this space. Let's get as many people as possible, and follow us at OnChain Rev, at OnChain Rev there. And then shout out to all the Pump Stream audience, the Abstract, as well as Zora as well. All your support is definitely what keeps us going. So thank you guys so much. Let's jump into some price action. Starting with the hour, of course, like I always do here. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. So it's basically just a seesaw. So up to finish the week, down to start the week, and now back up for the second day of the week. Does look like we are starting to exhaust a little bit of this buy pressure here a little bit. You can see the fast line not curling yet, so this does still have potential to stay open, and we have a continuation. We haven't been in the overbought territory on stochastics for too long. We literally got here at 2 a.m. Eastern, so we've been here for about 9 hours. So I guess it's kind of a decent amount of time, but not really. We can definitely hang up here for a bit longer if the price action feels like it. So let's see what the support and resistance looks like for the hour here. And let me squeeze that in a little bit here. All right, there we go. Let's take a look. All right, so the 88.7 area support definitely, has a little bit of an edge there. The volumes are pretty decent, though, not too bad. This is the highest volume area at the 87.8, almost 87.9. It does look like it's about balanced there. So it looks pretty balanced all around. Below here, though, if we drop to 88.6, we could see a little bit of a dip, but then we get caught. It catches it right here, support right there, and it's just really. It's back and forth with a lot of balance in the areas that are like, has a strong advantage. It's lower volume. So I'm expecting more chop, probably a little bit chop to the upside though, because this is a pretty strong, session for the buy pressure session here. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see a continuation of this. Maybe we tease 90 again for the next 4 to 6 hours. So something to keep your eye on for the next 4 to 6 hours is that chop to the upside for Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart looks like we did one of those scenarios that I said could happen yesterday, which was have a short sell sell pressure session here and go back into buy pressure. Now it's not super strong yet. Let's see how this red candle finishes on this 4-hour candle. We got about 3 hours left here. So if we do end up finishing this red and then we start another green one, we could see some upward trajectory. I pretty much gave up to end the year that Bitcoin was going to look really strong. We got 2 days left, right? So it's just been chop. And I think that people don't want to make big moves until next year. That's what seems to be the case here. But staying in this range, I think is important as long as we don't break down, right? And I'm okay with that. So that is what I'm seeing for the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look here at the daily. Daily chart did open back up a little bit here. Not super aggressive, but you can see like the MACD is a little bit bigger and stronger. It'd be awesome to see this really open up, but I think we have to cross over 90K for that to happen, maybe get to 91, 92. And I just don't see that happening probably until next year, maybe the second week of January. And we'll see how January starts too, because, a lot of these just overall asset markets right now are struggling after having some success the last couple of weeks with the precious metals and S&P and stuff like that. Seems like we're just trying to finish the year in a chill mode to not do too much. But I do like where we are here for Bitcoin on the daily chart. Would love to see this have a continuation, but not expecting any volatility to the upside or downside, really. I just think that we're going to be chopping here. And then let's take a look at Ethereum really quick. All right, let's take a look here. ETH looks like on the hour chart that it does want to kind of close down a bit here. It's been up here longer than Bitcoin has been. So this looks like it's just a little bit ahead of Bitcoin in terms of maybe trying to close this down and go, break down a bit. But as we know, Bitcoin, writes the story. So if Bitcoin does get aggressive, this will, pop back open and continue that buy pressure. But we're still in the do nothing zone for Ethereum, as you can see right here. It's highlighted. So more chop for ETH, in my opinion. I don't see, even if it goes into a sell pressure session, it would have to go into it strong if Bitcoin dumped really hard, in my opinion. The 4-hour looks like pretty decent for Ethereum too. It's a very similar situation that Bitcoin had, right? So we got to see how this 4-hour candle finishes here, and then see if Bitcoin decides it wants to venture into the 90,000 range again. And if so, we could see this have a continuation as well, as ETH is really kind of looking towards Bitcoin. Now, the storyline of ETH having like so much more volume or transactions and stuff on chain could definitely change things a little bit. And then if the narrative starts to lean more towards Ethereum in January, I have a feeling like the headlines are trying to push for something like that, right? They're just talking and they're highlighting the transaction volume, the smart contract creation on Ethereum is increasing quite a bit. So that could be something to watch. If in January ETH looks a little bit more lively than Bitcoin, don't be too shocked, because I think we're seeing some details in the headlines right now that could be forecasting that. So that's something to look out for here. Let's take a look at the daily. Very similar situation here. Actually a little bit better. I feel like it looks stronger on the daily chart than Bitcoin does as of right now. So that is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look here at the crypto bubbles. Crypto bubbles looking about split right down the middle almost. You can see some of these green bubbles that pulled up. 2Z pulling up 7.5%. Lit protocol. Wow, they are one of the protocols that partners with Emblem Vault, right? So they do the execution for jumping your ordinals and stuff. They help with that.
They're up 100. Wow.
Yeah, it's up 6.6% there, right? So that whole TEE stuff, which I think is amazing, because some stuff like Bitcoins especially it's probably one of the more safe routes that you can take to bridge and stuff. You got Ethereum up 1.6% on the day, Bitcoin up 1.3%, Pepe up 2.1%, Pump in the green up 1.1%. Some stuff that pulled back was Hyperliquid, pulling back 2.2%, Curve Finance pulling back about 3%, Pippin pulling back 2.5% there. And yeah, everything is on that, like, kind of, they're toting that line, either pulling back or pulling up anywhere between 1 to 2, 3%, either way. So it's not really aggressive one way or the other. So I think that's probably why that threw me off when I just saw you with that mask on. But anyways, that's probably why, we're just kind of split right down the middles, because there isn't really strong volatility one way or the other for the alt market right now. Looking at the top 200, let's take a look here. Hex pulling back about 10%. You got Pulse pulling back 7%. Zora pulling back 5%, and then Pulse X pulling back 5%. This Bitcoin finally sees a red bubble day, pulling back 35% there. And Flow having kind of this continuous pullback here at 5%, as they had that exploit happen that we talked about yesterday. So that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the alt markets for you guys. I will love the day when we see green for like a month straight for the the crypto bubbles, because that means that we're in a really good liquidity market environment.
If I start doing shows like this, is this acceptable?
Is that the mask for Mankind, or whatever his name was?
Kane. He's Kane.
Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to show, like, if I seriously, if I started doing shows like that, like, could you imagine me interviewing, like, even Jeff like that? Like, it would just be ridiculous. Like,
well, in the beginning, remember, he did have a PFP, but it was like at the very beginning, and like he just came on.
$1 billion.
He actually did. He did his reveal on our show.
He did. So
that was pretty cool,
didn't he? That's crazy to think about. Yeah, for sure. Maybe face paint. He says, Stan says, make Luchador mask great again. Let's do it, bro. Let's do it. But yeah, so just going back to the price action real quick. So what are you kind of thinking for the rest of this year, which is the next 48 hours? Do you think?
I mean,
so I kind of want to let's look at tomorrow. Look at tomorrow the coin glass thing, and kind of see where we're kind of, it would just, because stuff might change today. It would be kind of off-thing. But what do you kind of think we're headed for, at least the ball drop?
To finish the week.
Well, not finish the week, finish the year, right? The yearly.
Well, so that's Thursday, right?
Friday morning, but yeah. Well, no,
Thursday morning.
That's Wednesday midnight, right?
Yeah, so Thursday morning, or Thursday would be the first, which we won't be live, but we will Wednesday. Honestly, probably not too. I'm not expecting too much. I did maybe think that we would get a push up at the end, because we just were so flat while everything else ran up, like last week and the week before. But at this point, it's probably best for us to stay just sideways until next year, and things get reset a bit and stuff like that, right? So I'm just not expecting a ton. Like,
I'm hoping, I want to finish the year over 90. Is that too much to ask for?
No, because we're like right there. But I feel like if we did the way that things have been going price action wise, we would go right up back under, like, on the first.
Unfortunately, you're probably right. All right, let's move along here. Hyperliquid will distribute 1.2 million unstaked hype tokens worth about 31 million to team members on January 6th as part of their vesting schedule. This is a really good opportunity for someone who wants to hold hype long term, because I do think a lot of these guys that work for this team, they haven't got their payday yet, right? And you see it a lot when there's a liquidity event that happens, when for instance, like Brian Armstrong, he sold down like $100 million or something the day Coinbase went public, right? Do you think you're going to see some sell-off here? Can we see hype maybe getting below $20?
I'm sure they have like a strategy for this, you know, to where, because I think they're a team of like 6 people or something, so pretty small team still, you know.
I don't want to say 6, but you might be right. I don't know.
Yeah,
Small
I
team
don't.
though, regardless.
Yeah, I don't remember who I heard that from, but I did hear that from somebody. But yeah, so they probably are very aligned with what, you know, the team selling the token looks like. You know, they don't want to hurt the price too much, and if they're getting huge allocations, you know, but they'll probably be able to sell off enough to feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't. Yeah, I don't think it's going to crash super hard or anything like that. But
Yeah, 31 million isn't a lot, and we've seen like Arthur Hayes beginning of November was coming out and he was saying, hey, like there's gonna be a huge team allocation. So we did see some allocation happen. I think that was like the top people. I think they got their allocation in November, and this is kind of like the the early people who own the team and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know if this really affects anything, but maybe. All right, let's move along here. Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz. I'm not. If you watch the show, you didn't know I'm not a huge fan of Mike. But he does talk to TradFi. He does, he has a stock that is public. He knows what TradFi is looking at. But he came out and he warned that XRP and Cardano risk losing relevance if they fail to demonstrate real-world utility, arguing that crypto market is shifting from narrative-driven tokens to business-driven tokens with measurable value and profits. He expects a 1 to 3 year structural transformation during which wallets and exchanges may evolve into neobanks like platforms. So he's coming at XRP, which we both know is not being used in any way to send, the native token from bank to bank. Any way that it was promised to be used. It's no longer, with stable coins being in dominance, it's no longer a thing. Right. So the XRP blockchain is pretty much useless at this time because we do know that RLUSD is being traded more on EVM than it is being traded on the XRP ledger. And then Cardano, which is a terrible chain from a user perspective of somebody who has used it in the past. I've staked there. It's expensive. It's really expensive, and it's very slow. Like it's double the people call Ethereum slow, but Cardano is double. Like it takes just double the Ethereum blocks that Cardano does. Cardano is shit, but I do think that's why they created midnight. I think midnight is going to be like the new Cardano. But how do you feel about? Do you think Mike Novogratz is right here? That XRP, you got me. That XRP and Cardano risk losing relevance.
I don't think XRP will, because it's just too legacy. It's traded. The volumes are too much. I think what this is probably more of a push towards maybe trying to get utility for it, but it's not going to just stop trade. I mean, look, if Litecoin is still trading today, and some of these coins that really don't do anything much, then XRP is going to be fine. Well, Cardano is a little bit
real quick. He's not talking about not trading. He's saying
relevance,
getting out of the top 10, basically, right? So he's saying XRP falls into potentially the top 20.
Did he say that?
Pretty much in this article, yeah. He's basically saying that he thinks that the top 10 tokens are going to be the top 10 biggest chains with the most volume, with the most users, with the most legacy TradFi wants to see.
So as much as you don't like him, he's somebody that I feel like is similar to Brad Garlinghouse in the sense of like he knows a lot of the TradFi people. He comes from that world, right? And he has a lot of experience in our space in terms of what he did, like whether it was good or bad or the other, like that's irrelevant, right? He knows what's happened, like what drove our space and what drives that space, and he knows that
Terra Luna wolf on his shoulder.
Yeah, I know. So with that being said, like he knows that they're coming together now. And I do think that there is going to be this really heavy push for tokens that have business structure and business revenue and logic that says this token deserves this market cap, or this token, doesn't deserve anything. And that's just TradFi. That's how TradFi works. I mean, you look at Warren Buffett, it's the fundamentals. He's the fundamentals of that. You know what I mean? Like he's the quants of that area because he has done it since he was young, and he just always naturally had that, that ability to be able to find value in companies that he would buy stocks for, right? So it's basically merging the two, and they have more money. They can influence and, if you want to say manipulate, whatever you want to use, our industry into changing the rules. And I've talked about this extensively on the show. You know what I mean? And what are you going to do? Are I don't really like him either. But I think he's telling the truth from not just those two coins. He's from if you just zoom out to the entire industry.
Yeah. And if you look at this, right, there's something, figure HELOC. I know HELOC's like it's like a real estate tool, right? But like he's saying like stuff like this. I guess this is like a stable coin or something. I don't know what the hell this is. I gotta look into this, but it's on a what is this?
Is it like HELOC is like a way to get money out of your mortgage, but it's like there's some pretty big risk if you don't handle it properly, right? You obviously lose your home.
How is this a top 11 coin? Like, but this is kind of his point, right? He's saying basically, Bitcoin will always be number one. I believe, my personal belief, Ethereum will always be number two. Tether, you're probably going to see Tether. Tether's the biggest company.
Stables don't count. Well, the established ones, I think.
These are still companies at the end of the day, right? I mean,
but they don't rank them, I don't think. In like whenever they put them in, obviously they're there, but like when you're comparing, like I would take the stables out of that.
Okay. Well, but then you go BNB. We know BNB is, it's the Ethereum of the,
Asia?
of the East, right? Of Asia, yeah.
But is that
XRP,
is that a good enough utility?
Well, I'm saying that because a lot, like, it's a DeFi chain.
Yeah,
it's a lot of decentralized finance happening over there, right?
Branding is really strong.
Brand is very strong. It's being used every single day, just as much as Ethereum is. Like if you look at the amount it's being traded, it's one of the few chains that actually has the big movers, right? Solana is a very like small, like 10 Solana, 6 Solana. This is like 50 BNB into swap. It's bigger money, right? Bigger money, bigger fees, right? The chain earns a lot of fees as well. Right, so BNB is like, in my opinion, it's the Ethereum of the East. And it's like I said, this is just me. XRP is not being used at all. The people who send XRP to each other, it's just not happening, right? There's not. It's the only time you see XRP is people buying it from the exchange or sending it back from the exchange. It's not. There's no use. It's being used the same way that Dogecoin is being used in every single aspect. Like it's not being seen. It's not being used. I'm talking about usage only. Right, the only transactions you look on this blockchain is Solana to exchange to Solana, and then maybe a little bit of peer-to-peer stuff, but that's probably just moving it from your one wallet to your other. Right?
Well, have you ever used XRP to purchase another coin on XRPL?
So those coins have little to no value.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I've done it. So,
but Dogecoin, for instance, you can buy DRC20
now. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's no difference between XRP and Dogecoin when it comes to usage on the blockchain. I think that's fair assessment, right?
Yeah. I mean, what they're utilizing it for, it's not what definitely the XRP cult probably had in their pipe dream.
Yeah, and you can the same argument with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin barely any usage.
Well, I think Bitcoin was pretty straightforward of what, like the whole peer-to-peer cash situation is nothing close to what they were saying too. Yeah, so I guess same.
Yeah, so and you can buy off-chain, indexing the same as you can do XRP, the same as you can do Dogecoin, right? It's all the same, but the volume for that is pretty much dead. It was something at one point. today, I'm just talking about today only, right? If you're looking at it from today's metrics, but Bitcoin's different. Bitcoin is seen as digital gold. It's scarcity. You're not getting that for Dogecoin or XRP. There's no digital scarcity, right? So I don't. That's one reason I wouldn't put them in there. I do think Solana needs to be, four if we're taking out Tether. Tron, which we might people. I respect Justin Sun. I respect what Tron is. Tron is a DeFi hub for some of these billionaires that are using it. There is so much TVL on Tron on a day-to-day basis that it is ridiculous. It's shocking when you go to look up the numbers in that aspect. So Tron is definitely one to kind of still be there, right? Cardano, I think, moves out of the top 20. XRP moves out of the top 10. What do you see potentially moving in here? What do you see? Is there Hyperliquid? I guess would be one, right? Where else do you see Chainlink? Maybe Zcash? Like what do you kind of see?
So I think Hyperliquid obviously has like a pretty strong narrative, but they are a leverage token, a token that's basically, they do utilize their token within their internal mechanism very well, right? Like they do like the fee buyback and stuff like that. And I think you can use their SDK and
you have to hold the token to use the SDK. That's a big thing.
To be a validator.
Yep.
And so they do a good job with that. So I think Hyperliquid has a really good shot at least, being a part of the conversation to crack into there. There's a couple of potential, new projects this year or this past couple years that I think, they just need to fine tune a little bit more what they're, gonna be, makes them stand out a bit. You know what I mean? And I feel like they're kind of heading towards that. And I think Merlin's in one of those spots, right? I think they're a little bit back, but they are just launched in the beginning of 2024. And so they're right now what they're forming is that kind of, this is what Merlin is known for. So it's kind of like BTC Fi and stuff like that. I mean, look, they were ranked number 85. So people in the audience that might be like, well, man, they're pretty far back. Look, they were 85 last week. So that's the thing. We're at the point in our space or in our industry that, like, if you catch momentum and you do the right things at the right time, you can really jump, and I feel like Hyperliquid was that in 2024 to early 2025. So another, is there any that sticks out to you that you feel like can jump into that area?
Yeah, 100%. I think Hyperliquid is a top 5 token by the end of by the next halving, right? I think it's going to be a top 5 just because of the fact that it's ran by really intelligent people, and it's being looked at now that TradFi is looking at it and saying, "Oh wow, this is like their own little area. Like it's one of the top used chains by far, right?" And I think that's going to be something that how many people are using this. The daily active user is going to be a big deal, right? It's going to be almost seen as like Amazon. Like how many people are buying this? How many people are using the product? All right, we understand what the product is, right? Does the product break laws? No, it's giving people access, just like Polymarket, right? So I think Hyperliquid is a top 5 token. I think Polymarket, I think they end up dropping a token and decentralizing the platform a little bit in the sense of making changes in a governance way and potentially being able to predict in that token. I think Polymarket is going to also be a top 10 token as well.
Yeah, I think talk about the tokens that are there right now though, and before they launch, because
I'm just talking about like I think the whole point of this is trying to see Mike Novogratz's
who's going to be the most relevant.
Who's going to be the most relevant, like in the future? Who's going to be sitting here, and who's going to be out, and who's going to be in? He's saying XRP and Cardano are going to be out, and I'm just trying to predict what's going to be in. Base will be in, Hyperliquid, right? So I think he's right. Is my whole point. Hyperliquid, Base. I mean, you're going to see what's some of the other ones that we're kind of waiting for, the airdrops. It's Base,
Abstract. I don't know. I feel like Abstract needs needs a lot more of something that I feel like I thought I would see more of from Luca Nets in terms of the chain is his marketing ability and his skill set with that. And maybe he's playing his cards really tight right now because of the market conditions.
Yeah, that's what I was
gonna say. We all know he's good at what he does. but abstract has kind of gone into the shadows a little bit, right? So abstract probably there. I mean, as of right now, like Monad, that is like a company that I feel like the VC like fingerprints got shown big time all over that. You know, the face has fingerprints, VC fingerprints all over it right now, because like it was just a try to push really hard in a crappy market condition. There was obvious like insiders for some of these tokens that launched. You know, at least from my perspective, that's my personal opinion. I don't have facts on that, but from seeing the price action and stuff, and then like, but the tech is good, man. Like the tech is good, but like tech don't matter if you're, you know what I mean? You're not pleasing your users and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I don't think they will be, unless they turn it around completely. Because like from the tech perspective, it is an EVM Solana. That's how I felt when I used it. EVM Solana.
Yeah.
Speed, you know, never snag, nothing like that.
ICP has some of the best tech ever invented.
No ICP is ranked number 48 right now, or number 45. Yeah. If ICP can really onboard these people that have been like really wanting the scaling solution for Bitcoin forever, and if it works, ICP could be something that gets thrown in there. You know,
ICP could be utilized by some of these bigger people in the space, like, you know, that just want to, oh wow, look at this. I think ICP is not being considered right now because people don't know about it, and I think it will be. I think Polkadot as well. I think once we get Jam, if Jam can do what Gavin Wood says it can do, and it can be an upgrade to Solidity, it can be an upgrade to EVM. You got to remember, he's the one who built EVM. Right, so this is the same guy who built EVM, now building Jam. I think Polkadot could be a contender as well, but we got to kind of see what that does and how does it bring user base. But ICP could definitely be one. Polkadot could be one. You know, Monad, I guess. Yeah, I mean, to your point, could be
so,
one. I don't know.
So one thing I think we got to pay attention to is how these institutions and Michael Saylor and those type of people, BlackRock, people that are in Bitcoin more, how are they going to try to utilize Bitcoin to have yield and stuff like that, right? Are they going to try to create their own products? Are they going to, you know, I don't know what BlackRock's approach is going to be, but I do know that they probably want to make more Bitcoin from their Bitcoin, right? So are they going to utilize a specific tech stack? Are they going to utilize, you know, Merlin type of tech stack? Are they going to utilize, you know, just Bitcoin layer 1 in this clunky way? I don't know, but I have to imagine that there's going to be some sort of, you know, financial product that they're wanting to create with Bitcoin. But I don't know, because that could determine, you know, if ICP has even more of a chance to be successful utilizing their tech stack.
From my understanding, though, BlackRock doesn't hold any Bitcoin, right? They hold paper Bitcoin that is being custodianed by Coinbase. And in order to be able to get a staking thing on that ETF, it needs to be safe. So Ethereum staking is easy to get past because it's on-chain, is an on-chain mechanism. There's no risk involved, right? With Bitcoin, there's a lot of third-party risk, and I don't think they're going to be able to use that Bitcoin that's in that. So if they're creating a new product, they're going to have to start from scratch in the sense of bringing in new Bitcoin. And do they want to custodian that? Do they want to be worried
not
that
eliminate the ETF product?
No, I'm not saying ETF. I'm saying they're going to have to create another product, right? I just can't see BlackRock wanting to get involved with third-party staking when they can easily go and, like to your point, go get ICP and then stake that. Like this already kind of proven methods of proof of stake. I think they want Bitcoin to be their rock, and they potentially going to have Ethereum to be their way of making money.
I mean, that could definitely be the safer approach. I mean, it sounds like it, as of right now, it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
there's no risk.
Because I mean, now if there's a chain that got some momentum to where, you know, you add your Bitcoin to the chain to its validators,
risk, they're not going to do it
till its validators. I mean,
because right now they have gold, right? BlackRock holds gold, but they would never like lend. They I don't think they're even allowed to like have a third party try to get them, you know, some money on that, right? Try to stake that or some type of thing. It's not possible. It's because there's just too many regulators involved and stuff.
Yeah, I mean the Ethereum part would be third party risk too, because someone else would be doing it for them.
Third party. Well, no,
someone else
they
would be staking it on their behalf, right? Unless they have a
well,
department that's completely dedicated towards it.
Coinbase is custodying it, right? So Coinbase is the custody
So that's
person
their
is
third
already
party. That's their third party risk.
already. But so yeah, so they've already established that. But giving Coinbase your Bitcoin to have people borrow against it, now you have a mechanism that's, you know, there's a lot of risk involved.
But what's the difference if you're doing that with Ethereum already? You're giving Coinbase custody of your Ethereum.
Bitcoin is being wrapped and then given to a
But
decentralized platform. Is given to a decentralized platform. I think the one they're using is Morpho, right? And then Morpho is doing the decentralizing. So Coinbase is actually doing nothing in that sense. They're actually just wrapping it and giving it to Morpho.
yeah, but the way that these like centralized institutions work is, hey, if something happens, what's your guarantee for me? So Coinbase says, okay, we're guaranteeing this much if something were to be exploited for your Bitcoin, and then BlackRock will make that decision if they're going to move forward with that or not. It's a totally different world, kind of like what the viewer was talking about, like with some layers will be centralized. They're already doing that. They're already doing that because that's their world that they're bringing to this space. Is that like, as long as I get a guarantee that, like, something bad happens, you're going to cover this much percentage. That's how, their world works.
But why would Coinbase do that though? Like, why would Coinbase, like, you know what I mean? That's the problem right there, because they're not going to make enough money off that to do that. Like right now, the users can do it, but you're taking all the risk as a user, right? You're taking the Morpho risk. I don't think Coinbase is. I don't think there's anything that says in the Coinbase
hold on
thing.
Hold on a second.
Coinbase is not going to reimburse you.
Aave created a centralized, platform
for Ethereum,
yeah, but who knows where they stop? You know what I mean? Like, it's centralized. And so they created that for institutions. They didn't create it for Web3 natives at all. Like, Web3 natives don't want that.
Hold on, they took what they're doing and they just made a centralized version. Like, it's not like it's brand new. It's what they're already doing. But they're being full custodians.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like, people in Web3, when they hear that, they're just kind of like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? But institutions are like, when they hear that, they're like, okay, let's talk more. Let's figure out like what's the risk liabilities and all these things.
If you can earn it, but I guess my point is you'll never be able to put that in the ETF like you can put it into the Ethereum one, right? Like you're never going to be able to use that Bitcoin that is in the BlackRock ETF as the earn yield, unless you create a new one. And then you got to explain the risks to these people that, hey, like Coinbase is saying that they're going to reimburse you if this happens. Can they run out of money? Huh?
It's a legal agreement, right? Whenever they do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like Coinbase has to take on all the pressure. They got to be making enough money.
I mean, that's up to them to make that decision.
But that's the thing too, is like they can't guarantee a yield either, because the yield's going to be from the borrowing and lending. You're going to need people to, to come in and borrow and lend. Like, so the yield on
there will be products, institutional products that have Bitcoin involved with yield in it. I guarantee that.
I mean, there already is from Saylor's point of view, like Saylor's getting yield on his Bitcoin, but at the same time, like,
he has a ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like he's getting 20. He said he got 20% APY on his Bitcoin. How the hell did he do it?
There you go.
But you know how they're doing it though? They're doing like an arbitrage.
But you also said that Saylor and BlackRock are the ones that are the most like, to where they don't want to take risk with their Bitcoin, but he already has, and he's made 20% on it.
Yeah, but my point goes back to getting any type of staking in the ETF itself.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about Bitcoin product itself. But here Stan says, he says midnight, and he says Charles Hawkinson is who he's referring to. Swears
midnight is the new Cardano.
It will change the world. What do you think about it?
I think it's everything Cardano should have been in the beginning. I think it does EVM. I actually don't know enough about Midnight. I feel like I should. What tech stack does EVM use? I mean, does Midnight use?
I do think it's interoperable to UTXOs, of course, because of Cardano. EVM. But it was the weirdest thing, though. And I feel like it didn't play out the way we were explained it was. Because, like, what I was explained was that, like, all you had to do was just hold ETH in your ETH wallets or Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallets, and you would get, like, a one-to-one of midnight airdrop, and I was like, that doesn't seem right, man. I mean, you could do it. You could index every chain, but
it was like a point system, and you had to claim. I remember I claimed, but like they were telling me I was getting like 30 cents a midnight, and I didn't even. So I didn't even actually like like get it.
I don't know if I would like just because Charles swears by it, like trust that, because I'm sure he swore by the first programming language that Cardano came out with, and all the developers hated it, absolutely hated it. They actually changed it because of that. I mean, not because it was just so hard to work with.
Let's see if I got any other banners here. I think that's all the banners I got. Have you been paying attention to the trenches in the last 24 hours?
It's just Whitewell, man. Whitewell has been on fire, but it did pull back. It got to 70. I was actually shocked that it got to 70. I mean, I said once it crossed over 60, I said, oh, I do think it's going to head to 100, but then the pullback happened. Let's see where it's at right now.
55.
Oh, okay, so that's
not bad.
Yeah, but it got to 70 like a day ago. But it's really the first really strong pullback that you're seeing here. So it got to about 74 million. Now it's at 55. So the next move obviously is going to be like it's going to determine if we see this token get to 100 million or not on the next move.
I think it has to come down though. I think it has to come down to like 40 before it can take another leg up, just according to the trend line. It does seem like it was going up and then it came up. And what normally happens from my experience is this: you get something, and if it can hold this trend line, so if it can hold between 40 and 46 and bounce off it, I think it has a chance to hit 80, 90.
I think it's 80, 90. It's going across 100.
You think so?
I do. But a lot of times the area that it's at right now is where I feel like Wojak couldn't get past, or I think 6-7 got to like 50 million really quick. Maybe I'm wrong. And tokens like that bullish token couldn't get past.
Oh my God.
Is that 6-7?
Yeah, getting killed, bro.
What is it at?
Red guy was pumping this 2 weeks ago at 30 million.
That actually might not be a bad
entry.
Yeah.
Can you take leverage on this anywhere? I would take some leverage on this.
Yeah, none of this is financial advice, guys. You know that. This is, dude, like the DGen colors are coming out for sure right now. But it's funny because, like, I was thinking about 6-7, and I was like, damn, I felt whenever third guy was talking about it, it was getting pretty crazy. I think it got to like 40 million or something. And I was just like, can it have that same life? But it seems like 6-7 as like this trend, like it comes in really strong and then people start to forget about it. And then it comes in strong again and people just start to forget about it. So I'm like, is it going to be one that like actually stays? I don't know, man. Like, people are going to have to use it. And like, there's mainstream people using it. There was a UFC fighter that won this past weekend, and I think after his knockout or something, I don't know exactly how it happened, but he did like the 6-7 thing. So it's there. Maybe people just need to be happier in the US, and then it'll trend harder. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. Eliza's on BNB.
No, is it?
It looks like it's saying BNB. Is this different, Eliza?
There was an update from Shaw, but I didn't see anything about BNB on there. If you go to his Twitter, you can see he posted about something. But they did detach from AI16Z or something like that. That was like
it has a huge upward there. Migration now live. Yeah.
Okay.
It's migrating to BNB.
Wow. Interesting move there.
That's crazy. I want to see how the migration works. This is why I think Emerald Vault's going to be so successful. It's just because stuff like this. Yeah, you're migrating from Solana. From AC. Wait, you can migrate AI16Z.
Yeah. So, like I said, they're leaving
this was the old token.
Yeah, they're leaving AI16Z.
But then why is it on BNB? That's weird.
Well, I think
that's. Am I wrong? Right, it is BNB, right?
I think he's. Yeah, but
Let
I
me
think
try.
he's doing a cross-chain migration, maybe, is what it
It
seems
says
like.
Solana here though.
Oh, maybe
I
not
could be
then.
wrong. Maybe that's wrong.
Oh, you
Oh,
know
you can.
what?
Oh, you can bridge. Okay, you can migrate and then bridge.
So it might be just they're migrating the token to that new ticker.
Mm,
I'm not sure. I got to look more into that. But
yeah.
he did post about this situation earlier today. And so, yeah, I mean, Eliza, AI16Z, that was such a big part of 2024, along with, the whole AI movement. And, those were the plays that year in 2024, the GOAT token,
Mm-hmm.
Griffin or Griffane or whatever that's called. Yeah, like all those went to like multiple $100 million, multiple million, $100 million market caps, billion too as well. Let's see, cross-chain token. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Maybe they just added liquidity over there. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that to get into the Binance Alpha program. The Binance Alpha program seems to like inject life into tokens because the volume just gets crazy. The volumes get crazy in Binance Alpha, man. Like you're talking about if you have any like momentum and you were doing, let's say you were doing like $80 million a day in volume, you could easily jump to 500 million to $1 billion in volume, in daily volume. I mean, we saw it with Merlin for sure. Yeah. And there's other tokens that are going that route because I think the way they set them up with the app is just like they get a lot of attention.
Yeah, man. Yup. Well, I think that's our show today, guys. Really awesome show. I think content-wise, I think it was fun. Definitely fun to kind of argue and stuff like that for sure. But really appreciate every single one of you guys rocking with us today and really all year. We're getting down to the last days. Tomorrow will be the last show of the year. We will be off on Thursday, back on Friday. Friday is going to be a nice little. It's going to be time to lock the F in. Yeah, it might not be time for prices to rock up, but it will be time for you guys to understand where the next opportunity is. We're going to be here to find it with you guys, for you guys, and be a part of it with you guys. So I'm really excited for 2026. Keep rocking with us, and all you guys been rocking with us, but really appreciate you guys today.
Yeah, Stan's asking, where's the party at? I think probably me being in front of my computer trying to build more stuff. I mean, I've been really addicted to that.
Me too, dude.
Sometimes it's bad though. Like I'll
firewall.
2 hours will go build a firewall to keep scammers away from your computer or what?
So I want to build a X402 project, but I needed an X402 firewall. So I told this is what I want to build. And it's like, all right, we got to take it 2 layers deep. We got to create the actual firewall for it because there's no like infrastructure yet for X402 and ERC 8008. So I created a firewall, bro. I had X402 payments like going through my firewall. So firewall basically means an X402 payments is that, the X402 aspect of it. Like, if the payment doesn't go through, you get hit with that HTTP error, right? So I had to actually build that. And so my website has no site. There's no front end. It's all back end. It's pretty, I don't know. I'm enjoying it though.
Yeah, I mean, that's what y'all's homework should be. WebDro, Stan, myself, all you guys, y'all probably build way more cooler stuff than I can build. But it's if you have interest in building things and you like to be a part of innovation and stuff, just go to AI Studio on Gemini and just mess with it. And the coolest thing is I built something that's it's an application on my desktop. I'm done with it.
Yeah,
I'm done with it. I just go click on it now. It opens my terminal, and then my terminal just starts the program. And so I feel pretty accomplished.
How'd it go? That. I feel comfortable talking about it. Do you feel comfortable talking about what you built or no?
Yeah, I mean, let's save that for like an episode. Let's save that for an episode because I think it was, but it was so cool just having an application on your local server and those type of things that can interact with live blockchains and stuff.
I wish you would put it on Versal so I could use it. If you put it on Versal, I can use it right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can talk about that. I think that would be fun, just to kind of have you test it out as well. But homework, you guys go mess with it, and then when we get back into the chat on Friday we'll be there. Friday we'll be here. And then you guys can talk about what you built. That's we can have conversations about it because who knows, maybe you build something that makes the space just that much better. You know, you've been in our chat for, you know, almost 2 years now, right? So you have passion for the space. Why not just put your passion and your ideas into code? And well, you don't even have to do it. Just let Gemini do it. You know,
Seriously,
it's so easy, man. We're either in trouble or we're gonna make a lot of money. One of the two things.
aistudio.google.com. Go to it today. I want every single one of you. aistudio.google.com. Go to it right now. Just type in a project, whatever your idea is. If you want to create something for ordinals, something for runes, whatever, just put it in here. It'll know exactly what you're talking about. You build it right
by step.
Yeah. So, and then have ChatGPT to help you. That's what I'm doing. So I have this, and I have ChatGPT. So me and ChatGPT, we have a plan mapped out, a 3-layer plan. Starting with the X402 firewall, and then we have something. See, I have no UI. Like, I'm building a back end, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I spent about, I don't know, 4 hours on this yesterday. I woke up this morning and I'm like texting ChatGPT. I'm like, how can we get, like, I want to get a front end. How can we get a front end? ChatGPT's like, relax. Like, let's build our back end first.
ChatGPT's like, well, first we got to pay for some stuff. So give me your debit number. And I'm just kidding.
Well, that's the beauty of X402. I can hook up my wallet, and now it's going to be so I can use my own product to start paying for these APIs. So that was the problem I was having with some of the stuff that we were talking about before. What I was building is the APIs, and I didn't want to, like, you know, I want to use crypto and X402, and some of them are already allowing it, but I need the tools to do it. So it's like, instead of just trying to find those tools, I just build it myself. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, anything that make your life easier too, right? Like, I'm gonna set up a tool that allows me, you know, goes right into our back end of our website and just starts, you know, churning out some good stuff as well on the website. But yeah, like Shizzy said, that's gonna be our show, guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. See, Stan's already interested. He said rabbit hole. Get into that rabbit hole, brother. I promise you'll either hate me or love me for it, because you're going to get stuck in it. But without you guys, we could not do this show. We are so thankful. And shout out to the pyro.buzz guys. If you want that banner, then go to pyro.buzz, make a bid for it, and you can get on there.
You see who they just signed?
Yeah, I did see. So congratulations
I want that, bro.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, without you guys, we couldn't do the show. And, you know, this entire year, you guys have been showing up along, you know, with us, right? And it's not been easy, but you guys have done it every single day. And we appreciate you guys for that. We really are thankful for y'all. But we're also thankful for our partners as they help, you know, get the show, have the show continuing with the, you know, sponsorship and helping out with that. So if you could check them out, we would greatly appreciate that. Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you are looking to jump using Lit protocol, by the way, your ordinals or your Bitcoin NFTs, counterparty NFTs like Rare Pepes or Nakamoto cards over to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing this since 2021. They've been building in the Bitcoin ecosystem since 2013, so they have all the experience in this. But you can take a loan right now out against your Taproot Wizard on the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending application on Ethereum. But they're going to open this up to other layers as well. It's, you know, like Solana, Hedera, and BSC. And speaking of those environments, they have the best AI tool in those places called agenthustle.ai. If you go to agenthustle.ai, you can use the free subscription level. It is limited to a couple of prompts and some tools, but you can get a taste of how to utilize it. You can ask Hustle to bring you some low cap gems and whatever blockchain you want. That's, you know, that it covers, which is, like I just mentioned, Solana, Hedera, Ethereum now, BSC. They're going to add a couple more. They're probably not going to stop for a while, you know, but it'll bring back some options for you and tell you why it thinks that these tokens are good low cap gems. You can also use the conditional trading engine that's built in Hustle, so you can set buy and sell limit orders, and you can put strategies together. That's the really cool part, right? They're going to add ordinals, they're going to add NFTs, all types of stuff, cross chain swaps. Literally, you don't need another wallet. This is a one-stop shop here. So check it out there. They also have another tool. But before that, I want to talk about the subscriptions real quick. So the free subscription gets you a taste. And then if you want much more tool sets and prompts, you got to get into one of these paid subscriptions. You can get a 30% discount if you use the Hustle token. And the Hustle token is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. Now, moving to that next product that they have in their ecosystem is called Migrate.fun. If you have launched a token on Solana's blockchain on a launch pad, or not a launch pad, but you just want to migrate, you got to use migrate.fund. You can migrate from pump to bonk, bonk to pump, believe to anywhere, because you don't want to stay with believe. They pretty much abandoned that. But these guys are the experts. They are finishing up their pump fund cohort right now. So you can go over there and check it out and see how that's going. If you're interested, reach out to the team at migrate.fund and then go to emblem.vision to learn about all the products there. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of their AI, as they have the Wizard version 2.0 that can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem, but it can also swap for tokens outside the ecosystem on Solana or BSC. All you got to do is have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in a Merlin Chain compatible wallet like MetaMask, or a Bitcoin wallet like Unisat, or Xverse. And once you get that Bitcoin in there, you can swap for popular Solana tokens or BSC tokens. But going back to the Merlin Chain ecosystem, it can do DeFi swaps on your behalf, and it can also stake on your behalf as well. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model, and you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, which everybody wants that product. We talked about that earlier. The first staking vault ended September 30th. They got 17% APR for their stakers. The second one is ending in about 9 days. So you can still get in, but you might want to wait until they open that new vault up. They're going to shoot for that same, around 17% APR. The minimum is 8%, maximum, I believe, 21% there. Yeah. So go check that out. Also, 2 other ways to stake with the Merlin Chain token. The first way is the flexible staking day to day. You earn 15% APR on that. You can claim your rewards every single day and do whatever you want with those. Just know that if you do withdraw your Merlin Chain tokens, there is a 7-day cooldown period. And then the last option is their bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup period. And you get 45% APR on that, right? You can claim your rewards every single day, and you can do whatever you want. Like before on that, it is locked up for 6 months, but that's why you get the 45% APR. So check that out at merlinchain.io. And our last partner here, which is our newest partner, is satsman.fun. It is a fun runes Bitcoin layer 1 asset launch pad, right? So they did their Genesis 3 token launch. 2 of them migrated and are bonded on richswap.io. Is that correct? Or richswap.com? .io. And you can go there and you can trade the tokens there. And they're going to open this up in the middle of next month around that time period. So anybody can launch a token. We're going to walk you guys through that process, and we'll launch a couple test tokens with you guys. So that should be very fun. But right now they have the leading token over there, the 7Z, which is the initial Genesis token that bonded there. So go check it out. This team is super passionate on making Bitcoin layer 1 assets thrive by using ICP's tech stack. We talk about it all the time. We just put out an educational video about that in this sitting in our YouTube library. So make sure you guys go check that out and head over to satsman.fun to learn more there.
Yep. Great job, man. As always, guys, have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io. Some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering a space, please send them our website. We really feel like I'm going to get started and code up to what has been happening. New article just dropped, Creator Capital Market, CCM, how Zora and Pump Fund are redefining the creator economy. Amazing article, guys. It's about 3-minute read. You guys can knock these out very quickly. Read this one today. Go check out the Omni one. Go check out the Merlin Chain one. And we got so many all the way back, guys. You guys can really understand what was happening during the Runes era. Everything. Check it all out here at OnChainRevolution.io. You guys need a VPN. I highly recommend Nord. I use it every single day. Right now they got a deal, 77% off with our link. Make sure you guys use our link. Don't go to the site themselves and pay the $11.59. Get our link, lock it in for 2 years. You get an extra 3 months, so 27 months for around $70. You cannot beat that. Lock it in, set it, forget it, be done with it. Nord is the best, in my opinion. It allows me to use stuff like Hyperliquid. I'm able to use MEXC. I'm able to use anything that geo blocks you. But the most important thing is it does not show anyone my true IP address. It gives them a fake IP address, right? So basically saying, hey, like this person's in Italy, this person's in El Salvador, wherever you choose to be, because you do get your choice of server that you want to be on. And, that really stops it. So, your IP address can actually find your home address. If you launch a meme coin and your IP is showing when you launch that meme coin, they potentially can find out where you live. Have a VPN on for whenever you do anything in crypto and get Nord, because I personally think it's the best. Definitely check that out there. And on top of that, if you guys need a ledger, we're our new affiliate here. If you guys are interested in having your crypto safe, go to Shop Ledger. Make sure you guys use our link here. It definitely helps the show when you buy. You got Ledger Nano S. If you're looking for something that you want to feel more secure with, a ledger is the way to go. It's the most proven. It's one of the oldest. My personal favorite. And you don't need any of these really expensive ones. Nano S is fine. The Nano X is good. It's a little bit, harder to use when it comes to pressing the little buttons, but they do also have these ones here, the Ledger Nano Gen 5 and all touchscreen and stuff like that. I don't know. I like the old school one. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being an old person, but definitely check out everything here at onchainrevolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain revolution, roll call, market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear traps. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.